Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up?
Hello, friends.
Happy Monday. I hope you're all having a good start to your week. Hope the week is rolling out smoothly for you. And I hope that you guys had a great weekend. We had some beautiful weather this weekend, um, but it's smoky. Smoky. So there's some fires going on right now. There's a huge heat wave happening on the West Coast. So for those of you on the West Coast, hi Julia. For those of you on the West Coast, our hearts are with you. I hope you're staying cool. I hope you're staying safe. It's like life, man. There's a lot of stuff going on, and things that are out of our control, which leads us into our topic today about rumination and ruminating, when it's hard to let go. And gosh,
such a complex
it's a huge thing. It's
topic, yes.
But what I know most of all about ruminating is that it's often coming from a place, right, that is feeling out of control, right, and feeling very vulnerable and not clear of the direct path or the direct answer, and that answer often can't be found, which is why the ruminating is happening, because so much of what happens is that we go straight to our head and we rely here to find the answers. Hey, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
We go so much to our head, and what's missing is the bridge to our heart. So often it's about not wanting to go to the heart, oftentimes because it hurts, right? And ruminating is often calling us to fill into what's coming up and what we're feeling, and that can be really hard, but it's about bridging from your head into your heart. And what we want to talk about are some of our own experiences, and like, we're always here just sharing our own wisdom from our own experiences. Nobody here is an expert. And each of you have your own wisdom and your own inner guidance, and so we just open the space to share and explore these topics and these conversations. And so for us, what we want to talk about is how do we really get to the heart of things, and how can we restore some peace and some calm, right, if you're in the midst of ruminating.
Because what I found out for myself when I was in that moment or in that experience, right, that beautiful life brings to you for a reason, is that is really we are here, and obviously at the moment it's hard for us to get out of here and connect with our heart, right? Which our mind can play us some trick games and some hurtful games, some hurtful feelings, that excessive thinking, that story that we replay in our heads, when it comes to ruminating for a relation that we got out of a relationship. You're always creating this story, or you are living in this idea that could have, would have, or that blaming yourself, or that that person can come back, or creating this story where I found myself often saying is, yeah, he's gonna find out what he lost because I'm an amazing person, and
Right.
then he's gonna come back.
Right.
But that's just my mind, right? Because really what had helped me in my past relationship, especially when I was married, that was one of the most hurtful breakups for me, is when I was married. And the rumination came, because I'm like, he's never gonna find someone like me. He's not, you know, he's gonna notice, he's gonna see, and always creating this story or this idea that being stuck on that hope that he's gonna come back, right? Um, but it's not because when it's a healthy relationship, when it's a loving relationship, you know, that person doesn't leave.
Yeah.
That person stays, you know. So why get stuck on that why get stuck on our minds? Why let our mind lead our lives from that moment, right? That breakup, that whatever situation that led you to ruminate,
Yeah.
right? So what are the feelings that you felt when you were, you know, in this transition or in this experience? Give us some, share with us.
Yeah. And I'd like, let's start with like, what is ruminating?
What is, yeah.
Like, what is ruminating? Why do we ruminate? And ruminating is really just processing. It's almost like an obsessive pattern where you just can't let go. You're thinking and thinking and thinking about a problem or a negative event or a situation, right? That often has to do with conflict, loss, it's an uncomfortable space to be in, and the mind is always looking for a problem. Like Jasenia was talking, it's so much what's going on in our own minds, right? So the mind is trying to find a solution to a problem, because our mind has a negativity bias. It's like we are hardwired in here of like trying to figure out like why we feel a certain way. There must be a problem, and finding the answer solution to that problem so it can be remedied, so you can put it away, so you can close the door and move forward, right? But what happens with ruminating and why ruminating is happening is because there's not a specific solution. There's not a perfect answer. You can't tie it in a neat, tiny bow, right? It's a problem. It's a problem that really is unsolvable.
Yeah.
And when you find yourself in a state of rumination, what's actually being asked for and from you is to surrender. Mm-hmm. Time to let go and surrender to the moment and take a breath, right? Like, so often what we need to do is just breathe, right? What we need to do is just get grounded and rooted in ourselves and out of our minds, because we rely so much on our minds to find the solutions when so much of what needs to happen is right here, of what needs to be felt, what needs to be brought forward, what we need to look at, right? And rumination is often an indicator of some sort of unhealthy pattern, some sort of something that's going on beneath the surface that isn't of service to you, that is out of order, right? That is the representation or the mirror of something that needs your attention, because it needs to be loved up. That's what I like to say. It's something that wants to be healed, right? And that can't be done here. It can only be done here. So what I find rumination to be truly is the call for peace. It's the call for peace. And like you were saying, Jasenia, about relationship, right? Mm-hmm. You can, as we're talking about rumination, you can apply this to any challenge or obstacle that's coming up for you, because
any experience.
Yes, because I know, I'm sure you would agree, like we're learning, right? It's like every experience or problem that comes up in our lives is a mirror of what's going on internally, emotionally, and mentally, right? That is calling for love. That is calling for attention. That's calling for real healing, because we've been walking or operating in life or situations or relationships trying to control, or with expectations of an outcome, or wanting to create some sort of path, right? And without recognizing that at the root of all of that has been some fear, or that not enough story, or some abandonment story, or some limited belief that you're not allowed or can't or not deserving of or can't have, or whatever the story is that the mind is creating, right? From that protective mechanism that is getting in the way of you actually being able to sit and walk and stand in your love, in your heart, in your
Your power.
care. So so often, these situations that arise for us, we we look so much at the problem, and we want to place blame, but these things are happening for our own healing. And rather than looking for healing, or looking at the healing work that's being called for, we oftentimes point our finger or focus on the issue, right? And create blame, when what's really being called to our attention is like, hey, it's time to heal. It's time to heal. It's time to get solid in yourself. It's time to clear out the story that's limiting. It's time to create a level of peace. And the ways that we can get to that peace.
Yeah, because when we're at that moment, of excessive that dwelling on whatever we went through, and our mind is just taking control of the situation, our feelings, our emotions, it's triggering all this stuff inside you. So there is like a hurricane going in your heart. There is like a lot going in your mind, at that moment.
Stress, anxiety
is a
panic
lot
attacks.
a lot of emotions to recognize. And I know that in our previous talks that we had, is very important that you have that safe space, or that safe person that you can go to in moments like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because rumination can take you to anxiety attacks. Rumination can take you to it's really mental health. Rumination can take you to depression, and it can take you to all this stuff that our minds wants to control us and wants to push us down, and just forget that there is an out, that there is an exit, that there is a light, that there is something beautiful and better than staying stuck right here, right? So at that moment, it's very important to call your friend, to distract your thought, to distract your mind by calling someone, or by, like we always say, make a diary, write it down, and really see, where is that coming from? Where is that thought coming from? What do I have to give attention to? What do I have to see? Where is really triggering inside me? That part of me that still has to be healed. Because every experience, every relationship, every person, or whatever thing we go through in our lives, is for us to really see with compassion to ourselves and see where we still need to heal, right? So getting out of that excessive and dwelling thought and emotion is when you can't and you just know that you've tried, but your mind is just so strong that you can't call that person.
And when it comes to peace, right, when you're in the process of rumination, what it's first calling for is to surrender, and the path towards that surrender is acceptance. Right? You have to get to a point of accepting that,
like surrender,
how you feel. Right? It's acceptance of, this doesn't feel good, right? I don't feel good. And why? Why? Maybe it's because I recognize I feel out of control in this moment, or I had an expectation, I wanted a certain outcome, and there's disappointment that's coming up, or maybe it's resentment. It's calling out, right? What is showing up, right? And then having calling for acceptance, right? Accepting where you are right now, accepting the moment as it is. Like, this sucks. If I could have it any other way, I would choose the other way, right? But obviously, like, you're coming up to a wall here that you can't, there's nowhere else to move. So you got to get into a place of acceptance and accepting what is unfolding in the moment. And then after that acceptance, it's about uncovering. Again, we got to get to the root, got to get to the heart of it, because we're going to our minds because what's scary is to go here. What's scary is to feel that the fear or the pain or the out of control or the emotions that want to arise, especially if you are like an empathic person out there. When my empathy people, touchy feely, emotional, sensitive people, right? Oh, it hurts, right? Like, and you want to wall off that pain, right? And instead of walling it off, how about nourishing? How about nurturing? How about leaning in with love? How about, talking to yourself in a way, right? That to the way that you, like the way a friend would give you some condolence, in this hard challenge right now, right? Start talking to yourself that way and start nourishing and nurturing yourself. Feel what you're feeling. Don't make it wrong. Okay. And be open to that in the midst of what feels like things going wrong, that nothing is wrong right now. That what is perfectly unfolding as it must, right? Because this is in service for you and your growth and your development and your ability to have clarity for yourself, right? On how you can show up for yourself, on how you can get empowered in yourself, on what you need to do to communicate, right? Or share, or what action you need to take that's going to honor you, right? And understanding the role, like you said, understand the role
because
of what's happening, or the person, that this relationship that's coming to an end.
And there is no fast way for that.
No.
Take it step by step. Don't be so hard on yourself. If you're like, why am I feeling this way? If it's been already a month, why am I feeling this way? If it already been 3 days, whatever time it takes for you to be in that peace mode, just take it step by step. Be compassionate to yourself. Be loving to yourself. And the first things that we really, really have to do is question our thoughts, because like Sarita was saying, we get stuck on that idea, on idealizing the person, idealizing the situation, wanting an outcome from whatever we thought it was going to be, but it didn't happen. And because it didn't happen, we get stuck on this story that it could have been this way, this is what could have happened, and we could have been, or that could have been, or whatever the situation is. And it's why we ruminate. It's because we get stuck on the idea that it could have been this way, the outcome, the expectation, so this is why we ruminate. But the thing is that you have to be present with yourself and be the adult self for yourself, and just talk to yourself and be like, okay, let's look at the whole picture. If it was a person, if it was a situation, did it bring you any good while the time was happening? Or did it make you stronger? Was it making you a better person? Or was it it was a connection or whatever? If it was, like I said, if it was healthy, it would have never ended. Because anything healthy grows. It becomes more, it becomes stronger, right? So it's really, really being awake, alert of the thoughts that are coming in your mind, and that you are able and capable of really looking at the whole picture,
Mm-hmm.
of really looking where is that coming from, and being like, call out your name, your name. Okay, we're thinking this right now. Where is this coming from? What can I do for me, for us, to feel to be in a better place, to feel love, to feel what I wanted from that situation to come or to be, right? If that didn't happen, you make yourself feel what you wanted to feel out of whatever stories we are creating in our minds.
Yeah.
And it's the best way to be loving to ourselves. It's accepting what's happening right now by being loving, compassionate, and ask for help. Ask for help, because ruminating is stressful, is anxiety, is negative. So be in your power. Connect to yourself. Go back to your higher self and connect to that, because I know there is the answer. And I know there is the only way where you're going to feel loved, because us are the only person that can make us feel the way we want to feel in every situation, in every relationship, in anything that we go through in our lives. It's only us. It only comes from here.
Yeah. I've had actually a few conversations, and this is very normal. Like, if this is somewhere where you're at, if you're joining us right now and you're like, hey, I was in a relationship with someone, maybe you walked away, maybe they walked away, and there's that feeling of like, did I make the right choice, or maybe you felt like calm or at peace, like right when you made that decision, and then 24 hours passes and it's like, what did I do? Right. And that starts the ruminating process, right? And that process can last for a long time, especially if you didn't have a chance to get closure. And I've had some friends who, just sharing their experiences and what they're going through, and that like fear of like, it's like there's a fear of saying it out loud, because you might feel ridiculous of being like, why am I questioning myself, or why am I carrying this, right? And that question, like, did I make the right choice? And what I would say to you, if this is somewhere where you are right now, is to explore the explore the events, right, of that relationship. Explore what was happening. Explore the feelings of what was out of balance, what wasn't, what wasn't present, what wasn't being given, what wasn't reciprocal, right? In a relationship. Was there a fear that you were holding on to of this person in your life leaving you, right? And starting a relationship with the feeling of a person abandoning you, where the mechanisms of that relationship is to do, show up, be, please, anticipate needs, all of that stuff, right? That feeds into codependency. That is not serving of you. That is not choosing a love that would honor the fullness of who you are, Was there a breakdown of communication, right? Was there a lack of emotional intimacy? Was vulnerability present? Was there consistent or constant conflict, right? Like, you have to explore the entirety of that relationship and get some clarity around that, because those components that were out of balance are revealing the agreement of a relationship that wasn't truly the relationship you wanted. And what's asking you to explore, right? Because this is a healing journey, right? We just listened to this talk on YouTube. We love YouTube. And with Jay Shetty, Oprah, and Dr. Perry. And they talk about how, in the first or in the early beginnings of our life, from 0 to 5, and it's actually 0 to 7, actually, is where we are forming, who we are, and are forming our habits, our patterns, and how we're going to relate to the world. Okay. If that's how we're going to relate to the world, that means that's how we're going to be in relationship with others. Right? So those dynamics that are showing up, that are out of balance, right? People who come into our lives, the role that they play for us is in our own healing. If you could look back at your own childhood patterning, if you really could, and it's something I recommend to every single person, and to sit and reflect on what did you learn or glean about relationship from your environment, right? From your parents, from the people around you, from society, from your experiences, right? Those created certain beliefs. And out of those beliefs, right, there were certain things that we carried with us that were very limiting, that were detrimental, that were painful, that would be harmful, that would have us carrying these heart walls, and guards up, and not trusting, and all of the ways that we then move forward with that pattern or habits because of those defenses. And people come into our lives either to help us heal and be of service for that healing, which often, can unfold to a beautiful lasting relationship. Or they can be for our healing in order to dredge up the junk that needs to be cleared out, and not meant to be there. Just the purpose is for that experience of healing that needs to be brought forward in that period of time, right? And so when we call forward into that space and recognize, okay, here's the pattern, here are the things that were out of place, here's where intimacy, emotional connection, chemistry, compatibility, right, the ways that I gave away my authority or I didn't show up, right, the mechanisms we do in a relationship that are not serving us but rather rooted in fear wants to come up and be healed, right? And what can you do? What action can you take, right? To stop abandoning yourself and rather start showing up for yourself and heal those patterns, because you learned them from somewhere. And it's really important to understand where that got placed. Sometimes you can have somebody who comes into your life who's really great for you. But if you're not ready to receive that, you're not ready to receive that, right?
You won't see it.
And that's okay. But that doesn't mean that you won't have another opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's what relationships are about. It's about allowing ourselves the process to open up, right? To finally have that relationship or be willing, right? To show up whole. To be whole and full and honest and open, right? How do we find safety in our relationship? Well, how are you carving out safety for yourself? How are you creating security for yourself? How are you building trust for yourself? How are you showing up for yourself? How are you not abandoning yourself, right? That's what is being called up in these moments when we're ruminating about something. It's because we're so stuck, right, to something that we want to hold on to. But it's that's not what it's about. It's hey, time for you to surrender and recognize there's some stuff to dive into, to clear out. Because as soon as you do, that's when things get moving. That rumination starts to go to the wayside.
Yes, because most of the times we get stuck on the beautiful experiences that we had with that person, and we don't see the whole picture, which is we only see the good and not the bad, right? Which if we just get stuck on the good experiences, this is why we ruminate, because because we're just oh my god, but it was this good, and if I could have been this way, and if I could have done that. But really, the relationship wasn't just good. So when we start writing on a piece of paper, what what put me or made me feel at a low energy, and what made me feel whole and being stronger in myself, and know that this relationship could have gone somewhere, right? When you start writing down, you will see which one outcomes the other.
Mhm.
And if that person left, or if you left that relationship, it was because it was meant to be.
Right.
It was the best thing you could have done for yourself, and it's the best thing he or she could have done for you.
Right.
So, because really, if we don't go to chaos, there is no change.
Right.
And if there is no change, there is no evolution.
Mhm.
And we as humans, we have to have that evolution to become a better version of ourselves.
Amen.
Because
Amen.
if we don't go through all these experiences that our beautiful universe put, God, however you want to call it, put in our path,
Yep.
She wouldn't be here.
Yep.
I wouldn't be here.
Yep.
We wouldn't have had that experience.
Yep.
And we wouldn't have been able to share what we went through.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're talking, it's because we went through that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had that experience too of rumination.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us are still working on it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because we are not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're here, it's because we talk from our hearts and experiences.
Yeah.
Not because somebody told us.
Right.
Or because it's somebody else's experience.
Right.
No. I cannot talk or tell you or connect with you if I haven't lived it. But I have lived it. And it's why I know it's so important to share this message.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's so important because at that moment, you feel you're by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, you feel you're the only one that's going through this situation.
Right.
My friend, you're not the only one.
Right.
There is a lot of us going through that situation. And you are not alone. And it's one thing. We need to be compassionate and loving to ourselves. And it's why I say, look for help. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's when you realize you're not the only one. And because you're going through this, you're able to help someone else too.
Yeah.
So see the whole picture. Try to get out of here. And if you cannot do it on your own, ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help. It's so important.
Right. It's time to connect here.
Connect, yes.
And two, what when you really start asking questions, when I've sat and explored questions for myself or with others, you get to a point where you recognize that this ruminating piece is just a distraction.
It is.
It's a distraction because what you are actually afraid of doing is taking the step forward and leading your own life, right? So often it's that feeling of powerlessness, mm-hmm. right? That creates the rumination. And that's what's out of alignment. That's what's not in the right place, because you are not powerless. You are incredibly powerful and highly capable.
Highly capable.
Yeah, and a creator. Able to create a new experience. And what is calling you and your attention to is to get clarity on who you are, what you want in your life. What are your aspirations? What are your desires? What are your dreams? What are your needs? Did you go into a relationship with someone communicating from the start, knowing what your non-negotiables are, knowing what your needs are, being very clear in who you are and what you want in a relationship? Or did you just go into a relationship? You see, that's what's out of alignment, because so often you can be like doing things to get, right? Doing things to get love, doing things to get attention, validation, affirmation from another person or a source that's external to you. And that's what's out of order because you are your own authority. And you are powerful.
Yeah.
You are love itself. We're can be looking for love, not recognize that we're looking for is the love that we are, right? Yes. But if you're not seeing the love that you are, right, that's going to create these situations.
And it's like you were saying that, right?
Yeah.
And it just brought me to this conversation that I had with this kid today at work, He comes up to me and we start talking about relationships. And the best example, that I could give him was about a car. When you buy a car, how do you go and buy a car? You look at the mileage, the make, the model, the color, the interior,
you take inventory.
the tires. You drive it and you make sure that it's driving okay. You open the hood and you see at the motor and you see everything that it has oil and all this, right? So why do we go into relationships without really having that list of what we want in a relationship? Why do we do that?
Yeah.
Knowing what we want, because we all know what we want.
Because you think you can just make it work.
Exactly. No, we cannot make it work, and we cannot fall for potential. Let's not fall for potential, because I see it in so many people. But
pattern that we all carry.
We cannot change no one.
Right.
Everybody has to walk their own path and their own way of healing. And just like we went through chaos in order to change and in order to be who we are right now, and still, doing that change and becoming a better version of ourselves, evolution is important. So it's the only way. They have to go through the same thing. And it's going to be on their own time. In their own time. Not my time. Not your time. So let go. Look at the whole picture. Mm-hmm. Be very honest with yourself. Have your eyes wide open. Don't let this beautiful mind take over yourself, your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts, and let this guide you into the loving, powerful, and amazing person that you are. You just forgot about it, but you are.
Yeah.
Let it control yourself. Mm-hmm. Let it be the one that's guiding, that's taking the steering wheel in your life and is connecting you back to your higher self, to your loving self again. Because it's so important. It's so important that you really, really see the whole picture.
And I want to talk for a moment about attachment, because, if what's coming up in life for you right now, like maybe this is a relationship, or maybe it's a job, right? Like losing a job, or losing, your home, or losing something that a family member, like, is a challenge that you're facing that is rooted with this kind of loss, and that loss, right? Like, it's not about not being attached. Like, so much is a conversation of like, oh, we're too attached to things. We are hardwired for belonging. We're hardwired to love, like connection. We attach. We attach, right? Thank God we attach. Right? We attach.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with attachment. I had this conversation with my friend Sarah the other day. There's nothing wrong with attachment.
They always make it out to see that, oh my God, attachment is the worst thing you can do. It is the worst thing when you do it with the wrong person.
Yes. And when you love someone, it's like you've taken them as a part of yourself. When you have an expectation, right? Or there's a longing that you want. There's nothing wrong with those desires. There's nothing wrong with those feelings. But what is out of alignment is have you placed all your worth and value in that person, in that thing, in that situation, in that achievement, right? Is having that mean that you're finally worthy? Is having that mean that you're finally valuable or worthwhile? Is having that creating a story that like, well, at least I'm not alone anymore? Is that right? Is it like, what is it tied to? A sense of, if I don't have this thing, failure, I'm a failure, right? Is the attachment one that creates shame? right? Like I talk about my hair story, right? Like the whole TED talk about it. But my hair, it's like the question we have to ask is like, with my hair, I was very much attached to my hair, but it was like my hair owned me. Like my hair was wearing me. I wasn't wearing my hair. I could not see my identity, right, as valuable, worthy, beautiful, whole, without weaves, wigs, whatever. Like I just could not get to the point of accepting my natural hair, because I thought that people will then tell me that I'm ugly, I'm hideous, I'm not beautiful, I'm not attractive, I'm not enough, my body's not enough, right? All of those beliefs, right, kept me attached in a very unhealthy way to a mask, right, of wearing this wig, right, of wearing these extensions, right, of not being able to liberate myself to be free. There's nothing wrong with the hair, right? Now I know like I could wear whatever hair I want to. It no longer is dependent or a source of my value or my worth. So when we're looking at relationships or situations that you're in that are rooted in loss, right, is was your identity embedded in those things, right? Did they own you rather than you owning it, owning the relationship, owning your space in it, right? Claiming your power and authority, right? Were you the one in the driver's seat of building that thing, or was that thing building you, right? That's the difference when it's healthy attachment and unhealthy attachment.
Right.
And so much of this ruminating process is about recognizing our attachments that are unhealthy,
Right.
so that we can actually learn how to create attachments that are healthy.
And loving.
And loving.
Yes. Yes, it's so because like we were saying too, a relationship should really flow.
Flow.
Should really flow.
Ease.
Just like water.
Yeah.
Ease. Bring
doesn't
ease.
mean it doesn't have no conflict, because we got to grow. It's
right.
a mirror,
It's
right?
A mirror, right?
But it should call you into more
Yes.
love. It should call you into creating more safety. It should call you with more vulnerability and intimacy.
And it's because a relationship should be like a friendship.
Yeah.
And it should start as a friendship. Like I'm able to tell her, being vulnerable, and tell her everything that I feel. And I know she's not gonna shame me. No. She's not gonna make me feel less than.
Yeah.
I know I'm able
to. And if
to.
you have someone who you call friend who does do that to you,
that's not a friend.
Reevaluate the word friend.
Yes. So it's important to bring that same thing to the relationship, right? That you're going into. This is why we say, okay, this is what I am. This is who I am. This is what I'm going through. This is what I'm in the process of healing. This is what, whatever it is, like buying a car, right? If that person takes it in a loving, compassionate way, and it is also vulnerable enough to show what he wants in the relationship, is the only way we can build a strong relationship. Mm-hmm. Because a relationship has to be built. It doesn't just happen. Mm-hmm. It has to be built. But it has to flow. You give, he gives. Mm-hmm. She gives, he gives. However you want to call it, mm-hmm. It's mutual. It has to be mutual.
Yeah, and so, I want to talk about what are the ways or the steps. We've mentioned some of them, but just to bring this to a full point here of what you can do to help uncover some peace, right? Some calm, and end the cycle or the process of ruminating. And now ruminating, it comes up, and it is, it's about accountability and responsibility of shifting and changing the thought, right? Nobody else can make it better for you, right? You can seek external authority, information, as much as you want, but that's not what's going to be helpful. What's going to be helpful is how you show up for yourself internally, how you dive into your internal landscape, right? And get clarity and start to find peace from within. And so I always talk about like meditation and the tool of meditation. We talk so much about going inside, being in stillness, right? It's about not just quieting the mind, but like allowing yourself to be, because you can't find clarity if you're busy and active doing other things. You can't connect to like helpful solutions inside unless you actually carve out the space to listen. So I highly recommend meditation, and that you could listen to a guided meditation if you need to, play some soothing music, go for a walk in nature, but take out the earbuds, right? Like really connect to yourself. You know, this is about getting clear and finding homeostasis within you. Okay. And then to explore, like Jacinia talks about, like the questions you can ask yourself, right? It's like uncover the lessons. What are the lessons here? What was out of place? What were the issues that were coming up? You know, and explore those. Figure out what those lessons are, and then explore how those lessons, the relationship you have to them.
Yeah. Also work on yourself, you know, if it is to go work out, if it is to whatever it is that would enhance your self-esteem, whatever it is, do it for you yourself, because you're in the process right now to just focus on you, right? It can be like meditation for a lot of people is stillness doesn't just work. So like Sarita said, go walk. You can do moving meditation. It can be dancing. It can be just, you know, flowing. It can be walking in nature, connecting with to Mother Nature, which is something for me that it really, 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 really makes me feel love is being in nature myself.
Yes.
So anything, call a friend, let's go walk and talk it out, let it out, vent. It's okay to vent, however it comes, let it out. And obviously that safe person where you can do that, right? So it's all this stuff that we can do, and mostly it's like you're doing it for you,
right?
Because you know that the only love that you need and want, it's forever will be you yourself. So look deep, let all the emotions that are triggering or that are coming up also, you know, just see what's triggering, like what person were you with that it triggered that emotion, and write it down, and then go to your house or your safe place and be like, oh, this person said this, and why did it trigger me? What wounding I have when I was little that is, you know, triggering that emotion. What did I experiences, you know, like maybe you did something and it triggered something. So much to find out for ourselves, and it's really, you know, that connection, that's really connecting to yourself, is really getting to know yourself.
Yes.
Because after any chaos that we go through is a change.
Yes.
And the change needs action.
Yes.
It needs your focus. It needs your attention.
Yes.
It needs all of you in order to really heal.
Yeah.
Deep.
And when you build that relationship with yourself, right? When you build that relationship with yourself, you then learn how to create relationships and situations that build you up. But first, you got to build up yourself from within. And so I also would say to explore the question of what would love have me do, right? And when so often when we think what would love have us do, we think of love to other people.
Yeah.
This is a moment where you have to ask yourself, what would love have me do right here for myself?
Yeah.
Right? And it can be like so much acceptance. It can be so much of understanding that what needed to happen happened for a reason, because that didn't actually serve you. It wasn't actually loving towards you. It wasn't actually a mirror of love, the love of who you are, right? What would love have you do? How would love have you be? How would love have you walk forward from this moment that is serving you? Would it have you going back to something that was unhealthy? No.
Pull my hair if I do.
And hopefully you have a friend who's like, no! Stop yourself, right?
Yes, exactly.
Would love have you attached to some achievement, accolade, thing, experience, material, whatever, defining your worth and value. No, it would not, right?
Know that as you go through this healing, you're gonna see the powerful person that you are, because it never left.
Never left.
It just was forgotten. It was just forgotten. That's it, because you are still there. The powerful person is still here.
Yep.
It just needs that wake up,
yep.
right? That snap. Yep. Like, okay, I went through this, but this is who I really are. I'm this powerful, loving, caring, accepting, compassionate to myself.
Yeah.
And loving myself, because really, the first person that has to come number one in your circle, in your everything, it's you. You. Capital you. Right. Only you. So it's important. Love you. Love yourself.
Yes.
Love yourself.
Yes.
And be compassionate to whatever you're going through right now, because it's just, this too shall pass.
Yes.
So it doesn't stay. It's temporary.
And start to think about peace. Like, what is going to bring you peace? Mm-hmm. What does peace look like, right? And also ruminating. Let's just one statement here. When it comes to relationship, right, and breakups, or the loss of someone, and a lot of grief can come up, and it's important to feel all that grief. But if you can hold the space inside of you to recognize that separation, that the feeling of being separated, that is a figment that's coming up from your mind. Because if you are open and paying attention to life, and how life is constantly bringing us what we need and constantly being of support to us, and how we constantly fall into connections with other people and meet other people in our lives, and we have all this connection, and we're living in a world of almost 8 billion people on the planet, and all these people are here for a reason. If you understand interconnectedness, there's no separation.
There's no separation.
There's no separation. And so much of the peace that can be had is to allow yourself to love what is right now.
And that's how we help the world.
Love where you're at. Love the other person, right? And for forgiveness, I'll say forgive. You'll hear people say forgive them, forgive other people. And, I've heard all sorts of talking about forgiveness, right? And we can do a talk on this too about forgiveness. But forgiveness is not about like wiping away someone's wrongs and making it okay. It's just about returning yourself to love, returning yourself to truth, right? That there is no separation. That what was real was the love that existed, right? And all of the fear, all of the messiness, all of the other stuff, right? That's the stuff that was getting in the way of love. It had to go. Sometimes things have to go because you got to get back rooted to love, right? And so it's a calling for that. So, and that can help you find peace. Mm-hmm. So look and search for what would bring me peace right now. Would it be to go for a walk? Would it be to call a friend? Would it be to write a letter? Would it be to journal? Would it be to go take a retreat somewhere? Would it be to, do the thing that you've been really wanting to do but never done? Would it be starting your dream or that desire, setting that intention?
Yeah.
Do whatever is going to call peace into your life. Because that is what ruminating is calling. It's a call for peace. It's saying peace is not here. Please bring it. What can you do to bring that peace?
Yeah. Don't forgive. Don't forget, because that experience is who's gonna make you right, that stronger person,
right.
you know.
And it's bypassing. I'm sorry, I've had someone say to me, like, I can let things go and start from scratch.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about you. No.
Yeah.
No, how we grow is through our experiences.
They
right?
can do that. Yes, they can.
Maybe
do
they
that.
can. Maybe they want to compartmentalize and put that away.
They can do that, but it's gonna come back.
It's gonna come back.
It's gonna come back until you heal.
Yeah.
It's gonna come back until you heal.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
The only way to become the better version of yourself is to really heal what put you into that experience in the first place.
Yes. Yes.
You know? So, and then don't erase, replace. So replace those.
Don't erase, replace.
Replace those thoughts that are not giving you anything good inside you, you know, any love, any compassion, any power, any, it's not letting you see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the control. You can do it.
Yeah.
You are so capable.
Yes. You don't have anything to prove.
No.
You're deserving of love.
Yeah.
You're deserving of everything that you want in this life. And what's out of place is that you've forgotten that.
That's
and what's
it.
calling you forward in this rumination process is to recognize that you can have it all. And how can you start shifting your belief? How can you start honoring and loving yourself towards wholeness? How can you allow yourself to be? How can you claim peace, right, for yourself? So I hope this message has served you today. And just know, if this is where you're at, you know, if you're finding yourself ruminating, you've got some challenges and stuff coming up for you, know that you're not alone. Know that you're very loved and held. And life is hard. It takes a lot of courage to show up every day. Mm-hmm. But every day is an opportunity to love yourself deeper, right? And to love others deeper. And to get clarity on who you are, who you want to be, and get in alignment with full belief that you can have all of that, right? Yes. And start building from that space. So
you can.
You can.
You can.
We'll see you next week.
And
thanks for joining us.
Hugs,
big hugs.
Big hugs.
Oprah hugs.
And I know you can do it. I know you can.
Yeah. And so we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us, Ashley. Glad you love this. And we'll talk to you later.
Besitos. Bye.
Bye.